This is Seattle's Morning News. Dave Ross with Colleen O'Brien and Chris Sullivan. Some of America's most vulnerable citizens are partying like it's 2021. Let's call in the doctor.
Paging Dr. Cohen.
Dr. Gordon Cohen, MD. Dr. Cohen, we're seeing pictures of 80-year-olds dancing and drinking while millennials look on forlorn.
You know, it's sort of a heartwarming article in the New York Times today about fully vaccinated and time to party if you are 70. And the whole point of the article was talking about older Americans who are taking advantage of the fact that they're the ones who've gotten the vaccine. So they're the ones who are now going out into the community, living it up and having a good time. And it's coming sort of at the same time that there's still a lot of concern from the government and even the CDC, which I guess is an arm of the government, saying, well, hold on a minute. People shouldn't be going out into the community yet because there may be future surges coming. So there's a lot of confusing and mixed information about what's going on. And I think that's been one of the real challenges of this whole COVID pandemic is that we're learning as we go, and it's sort of unclear what guidance should be followed. The CDC has changed their recommendations numerous times. Different states are doing different things. There's different incidences of COVID in different communities, even within the same state. And there's even different variants. So it's created this sort of mass confusion about, well, how do we actually behave and what do we actually do?
Well, I mean, we've lifted restrictions enough that I was finally able to get my beard trimmed legally. So, that was good news. I still hear Dr. Fauci warning people on spring break, for example, to keep wearing your masks. But, of course, it depends on the beach you're at, whether they're complying or not. So I think you're right. We're in a pretty confusing time here where we're not really sure how safe to be. Personally, I would err on the side of wearing a mask until I get vaccinated.
You know, I was at the hospital and I'm vaccinated, and I was talking to one of the anesthesiologists who was on call the same day that I was, and he's obviously fully vaccinated as well. But there's still a little bit of concern about, well, okay, we're fully vaccinated and we've been fully vaccinated for a while, but when we're around a patient who has COVID, like, do we still take precautions, and to what degree do we take precautions? You know, I've made the decision that, look, I'm fully vaccinated, but I'm still going to take precautions. I think it's the safest thing to do, because the one thing about the vaccine is it has significant efficacy in preventing you from getting the illness, but it also has efficacy in terms of reducing the severity of your illness, but it doesn't completely prevent you from getting it. So there's still the opportunity to get it and not be as sick. But if you get it, you're still going to end up being quarantined. You're not going to be going to work because you have the risk of spreading it to other people.
Well,
so,
my understanding is that even if you get the vaccine, you actually should still wear the mask anyway, right? Just in case you're still harboring some of the virus?
Well, I've struggled with this, right? There's a concept, for example, that you can be colonized with bacteria. So, for example, you can have a dangerous bacteria. For example, one of the most common ones people talk about is something called MRSA, methicillin-resistant Staph aureus. And it's a type of bacteria that, because it's resistant to a very potent antibiotic, can be very dangerous in the community, and hospitals worry about it a lot. And there are people who are carriers of MRSA. That means that they're colonized with it. They have it, but they're not actually infected with it. But that's bacteria. Viruses don't really work in exactly the same way as a bacteria does. And so I've sort of struggled with the notion, as a result of that, of being colonized with a virus, meaning that you're just a carrier of the virus and you're in the active spreading phase, but you're not really sick from it. And so I sort of feel like the CDC is saying to us, well, even if you're vaccinated, you got to still wear a mask because you might spread it, because it would then open it up to everybody saying, well, I see other people not wearing masks, so I'm not going to wear a mask.
Yeah.
I sort of struggle with the notion that you're going to actually have a coronavirus infection and you're going to be completely asymptomatic, at least in the group of people who have been vaccinated so far, which are the people who typically are symptomatic, the elderly, and that you're not going to know that you have symptoms and then be out and about without a mask and spreading it around. So I sort of feel like this, and it's, I don't have any direct evidence, but that this information is being passed along to us to sort of keep people wearing masks so that there's just not widespread disregarding of the masks because nobody's carrying a card or wearing a badge that says I'm vaccinated and I'm not.
Dr. Gordon Cohen, MD. Dr. Cohen, thank you.
Thanks, Dave.